Hello everyone, Lawrence Fleming here. Let me get that adjusted. I'm getting a lot of questions about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and can I talk about it more just in case other people want to do this. I guess I don't want to defocus myself off of talking about God, but certainly surviving, if that's where we want to take this, you have to still be able to live. So you can't worship God if you're not here on earth. You can worship God in heaven all you want, but if we're going to be down here, you got to be able to survive. Okay, first off, I'm not homeless because I'm in hard times. I chose to do this. I had planned to do this pre-Big C, but we got shut down. You couldn't go to parks. Everything was messed up. Okay, so I put it off. I'd originally planned on doing this in an RV, but during the Big C crisis, everybody got paid to stay home, and some that didn't work found that they had to do this. RVs became expensive. They were always expensive. They became twice as expensive. So I'm not doing this in an RV. Being an ex-Scoutmaster, Boy Scoutmaster, I'm comfortable camping in a tent. I don't have any problem with that, so I'm doing it basic. And I can tell you how to do it extremely basic. Frugal would be another word, but I can take you all the way there. Now, you don't have to go all the way there yet. If you can afford an RV and you want to do this, I can point you in direction. I can give you some basic tips, but you really want to focus on somebody who has an RV. There's a couple out there I really like called You, Me, and the RV, I think it is. They have a Class A. They either sold their house or just stopped paying rent. I'm not sure which. I didn't see their early videos. But they're basically full-time in an RV. And it's a Class A. It's a big one. It's got extensions, so they can make it even bigger. They tow their car around, and they've got electric bikes. They've got all these luxuries. And I know he's ex-military, so he's got a pension, big one. Probably for his amount of time, probably close to what he made initially. I don't know if she has any retirement or not, but in any case, they have a big YouTube channel, so they make money at it. So find them, or there's 2 or 3 others that I like, and you can just Google, how do I buy an RV? How do I travel around? They belong to clubs. Like Harvest Host is one, and there's some other ones that they belong to. Boondockers Anonymous or something, I don't remember the other names. That will help you find campsites. Now, I don't want to go that extreme yet. I'm staying close to home, and I'm just using state parks. You can do all the other stuff if you want to eventually, but for me, one, by staying close to home, I can still do a little bit of work. I enjoy what I do, but I'm doing this full time. But I can do both most of the time. And because the way I'm doing my videos for you normally during the week, I don't have to, record a week's worth of video before I go to work. I don't like to do it that way. You don't want to hear me preach. You want the word to come from God and for it to be fresh. So by me doing it the way I'm doing it, God inspires me in the morning. I take notes. I look up the Bible verses, and then I turn on the camera. So you're getting it as fresh as you possibly can. Now, lately, because of the internet issue when I was doing this, I'd record them the day before so I could get it uploaded between the day and the night. Now I can do it pretty much early in the morning, but if I post it the day before, I can have your video ready for you at 6 a.m. I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. to prepare for a video at 6 a.m. So if you do it in the morning, live or as close to live as possible, I still rather record than do a live broadcast. Then I can record it the night before. So if I got topical information, it's current. My topical information for today is that this morning I think they killed the leader in Syria. That's not going to go along very well. Our fearless leader is supposed to be in the Middle East. I think he's going to Israel the day that this is released. And he's not going to have a good reception. We have an interim leader in Jerusalem. So, okay, enough of that. Like this channel, it helps it. I'm having trouble getting views right now because of the algorithms. So I need you guys to start helping me. If you're watching this now, like it. It costs you nothing. You don't even have to subscribe, just like it. Now, if you want to hear more, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Then you'll be notified when I release a new video. Okay, let's get into the topic here. And the topic is, how do I do what I'm doing so that you can learn how to do it? Now, I'm doing it, like I said, out of choice. I moved out of my apartment and I moved in with my son to have a home base and to have an address. You've got to keep an address someplace. Even if you go to one of these mailbox rental places and get yourself an address, it won't be a P.O. box. A P.O. box you can use for mail only, but not claim it as a fake resident. So you can do that. You can have your mail forwarded. Some of these sites you can actually pay for, and they will forward your mail to you if you're traveling. Tell them, I'm going to be here next week. Go ahead and forward the mail. I'll pick it up there. And you can do, general delivery at any post office. You can also send it to a UPS or a FedEx store for pickup. You don't want to do this months in advance. You want to do it, a few days in advance. But that's what, you got to have a residence to do this. And I'm using my son's. I can stay there occasionally if I want to, but I choose not to. Okay? So, in any case, if you're going to do this, you still got to maintain a residence someplace. I found out early on, when I first did this, I didn't have a current residence. My driver's license was outdated, and I went in to go get and I'm being honest with the people I'm dealing with. I didn't want to lie. They said, "Is this your current address?" No. "Do you have a current address?" No. "Do you have anything with your name and information on it?" Well, I could have had something, but I didn't have it with me. I get checks and things and other things in the mail. So I could have had that, but I didn't. So for all practical purposes, to get a fishing license, I was turned down because I didn't have a residence. You could have bought an out-of-state, but why do that when you can have an in-state? So there's all kinds of things come up if you don't have a residence. Okay, so that's the first thing you got to make sure you plan on doing. If you're going to move out of they call them sticks and bricks, or move out of your house or your apartment, you've got to still have a residence to have things mailed to, and to have a legal residence so you can do things. Your driver's license is supposed to be your legal residence. Otherwise, you don't have a driver's license either. Now, those that do this full-time professionally, that's all they do is stay on the road. A lot of them recommend, there's a couple of states where the RV tax is low, and you want to go to where those are. Google them. I don't do this regularly, so look for that on Google or on YouTube where you're going to see a video. I think there's a city in Nevada, southern Nevada, somewhere, that if you go there, you get a mailbox. That's your actual legal residence, and you claim that on everything. And they've got rooms there so you can stay when you come out, but you still got to pay extra to stay there, but that's your legal residence. So by having rooms there, you can actually claim that. But they also will forward your email. So people that do this all the time, they have places like that set up so they can do it. Okay. I choose to go to state parks. One, because I was a scoutmaster and we always went to either scout parks, scout camps, or state parks. I'm no longer a scoutmaster. I don't know if they would grandfather me into coming and going to these parks or not. I haven't tried. But for the most part, those are all going to be without amenities. And if I go to a state park, I can primitive camp with no electricity if I need to. I've got solar power that will charge the basic things. But frankly, it's hot, and I love my air conditioning unit that I have in the room with me. I've turned it off because it's noisy, and it is starting to heat up in here. But I love that. I love the fact that I can have power to charge up everything that I need to charge without having to put a solar power panel out, without having to worry about whether I've got sun. Um, you could get small generators, but then you got to keep gas around. I don't want to do that. So, and if you were to actually do this full time, most of these rigs have little generators in them, and you gas them up and you run them periodically to keep the things cleaned out. But what would happen if you were using this to rely on and you couldn't find gas? That generator's no good. So solar power is your best bet. And if you have an RV, you can put the panels up on the roof and get your NiCad batteries. They're very expensive, but if you're going to do this full time, that's an avenue you can take. Okay, so I'm booking at campsites that have electricity and water. And because I'm in state parks, which I highly recommend, they're a little bit more secure than going someplace that has no amenities of any kind. You can also, we call it in the Boy Scouts, they've got porcelain, which means you've got a bathroom with sinks and toilets and showers and everything you need. If you primitive camp, you might have a privy. I mean, a hole in the wood that you sit on. It's okay. You do it. It's better than just finding a place behind a tree, but it's still, it's nice to have porcelain. And I've even got, in all these sites, we've got washer and dryers. They've also got a visitor center in every state park. If there's something you just absolutely have to have, they have limited inventory, but you can probably find it if it has to do with camping. If you forgot to bring your matches to light your fire and you don't have any of the other stuff, you can go there and buy matches or maybe even a striker that you can learn to use if you don't know how to do it. And you can also get lighters. I use lighters, frankly. I don't know if I've got one here. The lighters are nice because, and I use this kind. I don't smoke, so this is only for lighting campfires and camp stoves. But with this long extension, you can reach into areas that have to be lit. They make longer matches that will do the same thing, but it's a lot better if you have a lighter. And you can get the long ones that have really long, they're baronet. You got a big handle and you can hold it out to here. I'm fine with this. This is all I need. And I got to put it back in I have a little bin over here that I keep stuff in. So there's my lighter. We always have water. You can get it out of the tap here. I choose to get it out of we have a water filtering station at the visitor center. Right now the cooling unit is broken, but the water's still cold. It's just not cold. But it's filtered water, and I fill up all my water jugs, and then I get a water jug. This is not Gatorade. This is a Gatorade bottle that has water in it, and then you use the flavor. I like, berry pomegranate, and my other one is strawberry kiwi, and this particular one is energy, so you can get those as well. I have a spork. You've got to have something to eat with. Plastic utensils is good up to a point, but this one's permanent. You just wash it off. So that's there. And I've got, breakfast bars in here, but I've also got trash bags. You're going to generate a lot of trash. Now, if you go to the market, you can always use the market bags, but they don't hold a lot. These don't hold a lot, but they're a little bit better. And I do have, the essentials, coffee, and I got creamer in here as well. But other things you got to think about, bug repellent. You use this, if nothing more, as a deterrent for things like ticks. Ticks will get on you and crawl up into a crevice and start chowing down. I know, it's not delightful, but that's the way they are. So you got to protect yourself from them. And I've got other stuff here. I found a way recently to cook my food I buy cans of food. I personally, and I'm not getting a sponsor from this, I like Progresso soup. They're big and chunky. Some of the other soup companies, I won't mention names, weigh the meat, chicken or beef by the micro ounce, and you get about that much in there. There's big chunks of everything in here, and it tastes good. But I found that with my, I'm going to show you this. I'm in my tent, and that's the fan I've got, but it's sitting on top of the air conditioning, which goes out the hose out the door. I wasn't planning on doing a show and tell, so hang on, I gotta get everything connecting. I'm on a little stand. It has to be set just right so it doesn't fall over. Okay. I can comfortably live in this. And if I wanted a full kitchen, I could actually set it up. I could bring a microwave. I've got folding tables. I could put in here and set a microwave on it and go outside and cook, come in here and cook. You know, my phone is not going to stay put. Come on. Shouldn't have moved it. I'll eventually, as I'm doing, this is an introduction, as I'm doing this full time, I will record beef footage, or I will set it off on a better stand where I can narrate separately. But since this is just an introduction, I just kind of want you to see what I'm doing. This wall behind me is a curtain in my tent. My tent has got 2 rooms, but I use them both. It's very comfortable in here when the air conditioning is running. I had there's windows in here. I'm going to do it again. These orange things are windows, and there's zippers on either side, and they're all the way around. There's one over the door. There's one I'm looking at in front of me. But knowing I was going to turn the air conditioning off, I went ahead and opened the window in front of me so I can get some breeze in here. Okay, we're back to normal. But anyhow, I'm doing this because I want to, and I know how to do it. I've done this most of my life. I've camped most of my life. When I was younger, I camped with my dad. We had a trailer, and he had a 4-wheel drive pickup. Now and I did it for 20 years with the Scouts. I'm doing it now because I want to, because I like it. I went out to my storage unit today and came back, and I'm seeing deer on the road as I'm going out and back. I can't do that in most places. This is just, it's beautiful to be able to do this. So, anyhow, if you want to do this for your human salvation, if you will, I'm not telling anybody that we need to be full-fledged preppers. Don't go out and build a bunker. Frankly, I'd rather be on the ground 1 mile or less from the bomb. I'd rather be out of here than to have to deal with the aftermath. But we should be out of here, but we don't know when. I wish I could tell you this coming weekend we're going to get raptured. Well, 1, I'm not going to be like the others that have tried that. And 2, I really don't know, and neither do they. They're guessing. It would be a good time, but every day would be a good time if you want to look around. So I'm not going to tell you that, because if I told you that, frankly, a lot of people would go, well, in 3 days we're out of here. I'm not going to pay any of my bills. I'm going to go off and play, Bill Murray and Groundhog, where he did all these things because he could. Because, running down the train tracks, running from police, doing all that stuff, getting arrested, knowing that in the morning he was going to wake up back in his bed again. People would be partying for 3 days, knowing that they were going to go to heaven afterwards, and it didn't matter what they did. No. We don't know for the main reasons, because we don't want the devil to know. But we wouldn't behave ourselves well. A lot of people would be partying. Okay, so since we don't know, and we can see the world literally go into hell in a handbasket, we have to prepare ourselves. I've told you to start buying up on food. If you've got a very small budget, buy 2 bags of rice instead of 1. If it's on sale, buy 4. Buy things that will keep. Don't buy things that won't keep because, 1, we don't know how long it's going to last. 2, if it's something that has to be put in the refrigerator and we lose power, what are you going to do? I heard somebody was talking about it today, but I also heard it on the news a few days ago that they're starting to teach what to do in case of a nuclear bomb. Now, I grew up in the 60s where they were like car lots, but they sold bomb shelters. We had the Cuban Missile Crisis. We had things going on in the world. The Cold War was kind of going on. It was with the Soviet Union. It wasn't with Russia yet. But there was a lot of bad people out there. So they basically had us, get under your desk at school. All these things. And they're starting to bring that back again. So even the government, who wants to scare us, is starting to create things. I said in my last video, I am confident a 9/11 event's going to happen probably before the election, which is in November. And if they may wait and see what happens after the election. If they can pull it off where they can win, whether they win honestly or not, it doesn't matter to them at all. If they can pull it off where they win, they may not need to do anything. But if they lose big time, which if we can honestly vote, I believe they will, then they may have their event then, so that before they can hand off the reins, they will declare martial law and stay in power. They are prepared to do anything. They would kill off half the world if they could. Their belief that the whole world population should be no more than 500,000, it's in their documents. You can go and look for it. They're going to start seeing what they can do to help people leave this planet. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure they want abortion because they can limit the number of population. They'd be happy if people never got pregnant. They might come up with a way to mass sterilize people. They don't care what they do. You got to remember, their mindset is working for Satan. And he wants to get rid of everybody because we're God's creation. All right. Getting back to our camping. Right now, I'm doing it in the comfort of all the things that I can have. I've got things that allows me to do what I'm doing. I've got my phone that I'm recording on. I could bring my camera equipment down here, but frankly, it's too humid. The camera is protected inside of my phone here. I couldn't drop it in the water. I don't have one of those. I don't have a waterproof case. I do have my GoPros, but I have to take it off the GoPros and put it on a computer and edit it down and then transfer it back to the internet so I could upload it. It's easy to do it this way. And frankly, 48 megapixel camera going away and 12 megapixel at me, that's good enough for YouTube. And I still like the idea, if you don't have a problem with it, of keeping it at the 720. If you're watching it on a great big screen TV, it might be a little pixelated. But on my phone, I don't see any difference at all. If you've got it on a computer or on a tablet, it'd be fine. The 1080 would work better. I can even go to 4K on this phone if I want to. But the files, even with good internet, might take 2 or 3 hours to upload. So it's so much easier to do it this way. Okay, so I've got the technology. I could, like I said, have a microwave. I could have a hot top, one of those dorm double burners, and cook on it, electric. I could have a juicer. I could have a blender, toaster, anything electric I could have in here. Now you got to have room to carry all this stuff. And you got to think about the economy of that. My car, even though it's an 8-cylinder, I have a Pontiac G8. It's a hot rod. If I wanted to hot rod around, I could. Economically, it's not feasible, and that's not good behavior on my part. I didn't buy it for the hot rod. I bought it because I just got rear-ended like 4 or 5 times in a row. I went to the dealer and said, I need the car that has the most protection. Well, they're going to put the most protection in either a luxury vehicle, which I couldn't afford, or an average sports car. So Pontiac G8 has a Corvette engine in it. But it gets, because it's such a well-designed engine, I get 35 miles per gallon on the highway and 18 in town. because I don't lead foot it. And I keep the traction control on, and I keep it basically in an econo mode. But it's not big. It's a 4-door sedan with a big trunk. I can't carry everything. I got a plane flying over. I can't carry everything that I have in storage, but I don't know that I want to. I can't carry all that kitchen equipment. I could, but I don't want to, because you have to pack it into your site, and then you got to pack it back out again when you move. So I've got the essentials, and I've learned to do this. I'm close enough to my storage unit, even now where I'm at, where I can go back and forth. I went there today to swap out some gear. As I have been doing this, I've been testing, seeing what works, what doesn't. What can I get away with not having? You know, I have a cooler that I can put ice in and keep food. It's an older cooler, so it doesn't hold. It's a weekend cooler, kind you take to the beach or whatever. It's not designed for permanent storage. I got a dry throat. So you're not going to be able to camp for a week or two without the ice going bad. On mine, I can put 20 pounds of ice in it, stick some drinks in it, which is really good to keep them cold. I can put some basic food in there. I typically don't want to have too much refrigeration food. I don't drink milk, so I'd have to have something else. But I like to have, I may have a Starbucks coffee in the morning, you know, cold. Those are good. Things like that. Mostly drinks I keep in there. But if I do buy some eggs, they would go in there, and I can, you know, you can keep eggs out, but I prefer them cold, just in case they didn't do a good job of examining them on the way out. You can buy an electric refrigerator, small one, just for the essentials. You can keep butter in it and your condiments and things that don't keep well. You can keep those in there. Mayonnaise would be one you'd have to have in a refrigerator. I wouldn't trust it otherwise. But I don't need it. I could camp completely without refrigeration of any kind. I have the ability to do that. I've got freeze-dried food. I buy camping food sometimes, and I've got some that's left over from when I used to camp. It's still good. It keeps almost forever. I've also got prepper food. I bought half a dozen or so of those great big tubs that you can get. They're sealed. They will last for 100 years. And then when you open them up, they'll still last for 50. So when you open the individual bags is when that bag has got to be used. And you can get everything from a meal to dessert, everything. You know, the astronauts live on, you know, everything in a pouch. Well, we can do the same thing camping. You open the pouch up of the camping food, you boil water, that's all you got to do. Pour the boiled water in it, and you can eat it right out of the bag. You seal it back up till it soaks in a little bit. Open it up and eat it, and they're pretty good. They're not the World War II MREs that we used to eat. And even the new ones are pretty good. Well, I was going to tell you, and I didn't actually get to it. I take these cans, and I stick them in the exhaust tube of my air conditioning unit. It's hot air coming out, pretty hot. It heats it up to a comfortable eating temperature. It takes about 20 minutes, so if you pull it out too early, the center's not all the way heated, and if you stir it up, it cools it down. But 20 minutes in that exhaust vent, and it's hot enough to eat all the way through. These are the things I just found out by just doing it. Okay. You've got to know how to set your tent up. If you buy a brand new tent, you're going to have an instruction manual. My old tent, the legs were built into it. They collapsed, and you would basically spring them into place and then push the two sections together, and they would stay. So I didn't need a whole lot of stuff from my old one. My new one, it's got 6 arch support poles and 4, 5, 6 metal vertical poles to hold it up. You got to have the stakes, so you're going to have something to hammer with. I'm just using a regular hammer, but I've got wooden one of our scout projects was to make a wooden mallet that you could hit with. You just take the bark off, shave it into a nice good size, and then you carve into the handle. You narrow it down so it's a smaller handle than the whole stick. And you've got a wooden mallet, and you drill a hole in the end of it, stick a string in it so you can hang it on your belt. So there's things you can do. You can even make camp furniture out of the local wood. And you learn to lash the wood together. You don't even have to have nails. You have enough twine. Parachute cord is a good twine to keep with you because it's layered. And you lash them using different types of lashing. And that's something you can learn from the scouts. I might show you in one video how to do that. I can make a chair. I can make a table. Whatever. You just go find enough pieces of wood. If they're not burned already by the people that come and camp here. But you don't have to do all that. I have a nice blue folding chair. You can see the legs sticking up there. It folds up and goes back into a bag for easy handling so I can move it around. It's very comfortable. I've got a drink holder in one arm, a place to put my phone on the other side so I don't lose it, and just a hanging bag on the side. It's very comfortable. You can get these in different sizes and different styles. You can get them that rock. You can get them where you can put your legs up. You can get them where there's a canopy that comes over the top. You can live in whatever luxury you want. Okay, I camp in a tent. I could set up a hammock or one of these hanging sleeping bag things that they have between two trees. That would be hard in a prepared campsite, but it would work okay. I've seen people with them here. You just got to find the right campsite where there's trees close enough to be able to tie them up. But I don't like that. They're uncomfortable. For me, I have a cot. It's a spring-loaded cot where the material is attached with springs on either side. It's about, a foot or so off the ground, so I don't have to be all the way on the ground at my age. I don't like to get up off the ground. And it has a pad that goes on top of it. I can sleep on that, and right now I have a summer sleeping bag. If you're going to do this year-round, you need to have probably at least 2 bags, maybe 3. I always bring the summer one with me. If it is super cold and I don't have my 30 below bag with me, because it's big, you got to have a lot of insulation, I use my mid-range bag and stuff the little one, the all-season, inside of it as a liner. These are tricks you just learn over the years. But inside this tent, I can be very comfortable with what I'm doing. And you don't want to be buying all this stuff all at once. If you think you want to do this, or you think we're going to go to the state where we need to do this, start doing it now. Just buy a couple of things a month. Get the essentials. You're going to need a tent. You can get very cheap $50 tents. You won't be able to stand up in them and do what I'm doing with this one. This one's about $160. But that's still not that much. This tent costs basically what a one night in a motel would cost today. And my campsites at state parks, I get a military discount. The normal price for this campsite is, I think, $25, $24, $25. I pay $20. You can get the ones that are made for a small trailer or a small RV. I think those are $28. And I save roughly 20%. If I'm staying in Georgia, what I did was I went and bought every state park in Georgia, you have to have a parking pass. Even if you're just going in for the day, you have to have a parking pass. And you're not going to sleep over. They're like $5 a day, but you can get one for the year for $50. Or for me, as I think it was either senior citizen or military, I forget. I got mine for $20 for the year. Can't go on with that. I can park in any state park for free. I have one of the America the Beautiful cards that allows me to stay in federal parks, parking for free. So I've already got that covered. I got to get out of Georgia. Georgia has no federal parks. They have federal land, but just no federal parks. You know, not like Yosemite or Yellowstone or, you know, the Grand Canyon or whatever. These are so big that they've been taken over by the federal government to manage. But state parks are managed by each state, and so they can be a little bit different per state as you travel around. If I leave Georgia, I will have to buy a state pass for parking and then pay for the other amenities. Okay, what else can I tell you about this? This is, again, just an introduction. I'll go into all these details later on. You can, if you choose to, cook, fully cook in every park you go to. I've got a fire ring with a folding griddle that comes over the top. I just need to have wood, which you can buy at the park, $5 or $6 a bundle, which should be good for at least two days worth of fire. Or you can bring, I prefer to cook with briquettes because we did it with the Scouts. It was safer with them. And don't go get the poison stuff to put all over it, the liquid, to get it to burn, because it will make your food taste bad. If you just want a fire, you can use it. Kerosene doesn't burn with a nice odor. Excuse me. I'm still dry today. But you can basically cook. I can cook pies, cakes. I can cook a roast. I can cook steaks, of course. Anything you can barbecue, you can cook. But I can cook in a Dutch oven or on a griddle everything else. You can cook bacon on a griddle, bacon and eggs, pancakes. You know, our Scoutmaster says don't push down on them. He likes them fluffy. I prefer them thin, so I'd always push down on him and he'd yell at me. He said, I won't give you this one. This is mine. Eggs keep well in a cooler. Bacon not so well, but if you've got enough ice, I can get ice pretty much any day at the park visitor center. And if for some reason, like today, they're out, just down the hill is a gas station and a Dollar General, so I can get it there. And I can get, I think I was going to mention this too when I was talking about my cooler, I can put 2 bags of ice in it, and it will last 3.5 days. At that time, the ice is melted, the water is still cold. At that point, I will go to the store, get 2 more bags of ice, dump most of the water out, because some of the things you have, you actually don't want them to be submerged in water. And if you've got a couple of bags, you're going to get, you know, a bunch of water in there. And it gets heavy. You don't want to carry 50 pounds out of your tent where I keep my cooler. I'll take it out and dump it, come back in, and then I'll dump the ice in it. It helps if you put the things in the cooler first and dump the ice on top, because otherwise you got to kind of force it down through the ice, and that's not easy. So put it in place. You got bottles of stuff in there or cans, shove them all the way at the bottom in the cooler with no ice, pour the ice in. Then you can put meats and eggs and other stuff on top of that, and then pour your other bag on top. And that gives you a good cool cooler for a few days. I'm going to be looking into at some point buying either an electric or another cooler. I'm thinking electric since I've got the ability for that now. I'm even looking for a small microwave. I've got a large one. It's in storage. I don't want to pack that around. I want a smaller one. I might even just go and get a toaster oven, just something to cook in for the times that I do want to heat something up. Then when you go to the dollar store, you can bring home, you know, packaged stuff out of the freezer, and you can cook it that way. Okay. I guess that pretty well covers the basic of what you need to do. I like state parks. They've got porcelain. Everything's maintained. They were just mowing the grass today. There are people here that can help you if you need it. They have a store at the visitor center. They have ice at the visitor center. Unless it's the weekend, you're probably going to be by yourself or close to it most of the time. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my fan on. I don't know what this is going to sound like, so I want, excuse me, while I get up close. Okay, I just turned my fan on. I'm doing a sound check later on to see what this sounds like. You can see it blowing the curtain behind me. And I'm going to talk a little bit more, and then I'm going to actually turn the air conditioning on. I want to see what it sounds like. I'd rather do this in the cold with the air conditioning because I'm already getting muggy. You know. I told you I'm going to start changing my shirts out for my videos, so I have a collared shirt on. I got some at the storage unit today. I just haven't brought them in. So I'm going to start doing that. I look too grubby. I'm representing God. I shouldn't look like I'm just got out of the homeless shelter downtown. But anyhow, you can do this, but you got to start. And you got to figure out what you're doing. Making sure you put your tent down. You've also got to, and they will come with stakes. You got to stake it down, and you got to get your rain fly on. You can take your time putting the rain fly on if you can see that there's no storms coming at you. But we have literally gone camping with the scouts where it's raining cats and dogs, and we arrive. Everybody gets out. We try to find the gearbox that has the super large tent, super large tarp, and we get some volunteers with their rain ponchos, which everybody should have, and we go out and we hang this large tarp up over the entire pretty much camping area that we're going to be eating in and everything. We set up, everybody sets their tables up with their camp box that has all their stuff in it. I've got a bin box with my stuff in it. But we set up the tarp, pull it off, tie it off to a tree, take the 4 legs out, and we have shelter from the rain. And then everybody would come in and build their tent in that, and then carry it out to their campsite and put it down. You want to look at the terrain. We camped primitive. I'm camping in a prepared site. I've got pea gravel, so the water's going to run off real quick and easy. I don't have to worry about it. But the scouts had to look around and see where the water was collecting and where it was running, so you don't put your tent in those areas. But here I'm on a prepared site. All the sites in a state campground or a federal for that part, unless it's primitive, will have everything set up for you. I'm plugged into the electricity. That's why my fan's running. It's right over in the corner of my square area here. They've also got water inland a little bit. Here, because it's camping, they've got shared water. Next door in campsite 1 is mostly for RVs. They have regular faucets that you plug into. Here, they have one of those things you'll have to lift the lever, and you might have to pump a little bit to get it to come up. It's on a deep system. Whatever you're going to camp, however you're going to camp, just you got to learn what they've got. If you're going to have an RV camp, don't trust the line power. Always have a plug-in line protector. I don't even trust the water out of these spigots. If you do that, what you want to do is to get a large filter and then have a small hose coming off where you can plug it into whatever, hose it into whatever you're getting your water from. Here, I don't trust the water. It's probably okay. It's certainly good to do dishes and stuff in it, but I don't know that I'd want to drink it. For that, I would go ahead and do like I'm doing, get either buy bottled water, which isn't that much, or I use the filter water coming out of the building up there. And it says it's on a little, looks like a water fountain. And it would normally cool the water down below, but it would also cool the water coming out that's filtered. It's broke for the cool part, but it's still comfortably cold. So, and here, the water's deep, so once you get the water out, you could drink this water if you wanted to. I don't, but you could. It's down deep, so it's cold once you let it run for a bit. I think that's all. I know I've gone over my time. I'm trying to keep these relatively short. My next video I'm going to do is going to dig into more of the hands-on stuff of what you got to do. But for now, this is good. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I don't want to do more than 1 or 2 of these a week. It's important that we know about God more than we know about how to live in this world. God will supply. But He's going to give us the ability. If you can survive like I'm doing, you can go further into the time frame that everybody else would need to be gone or have another solution for. I'm not saying I could go through the tribulation. I don't want to do that. But I can go further in to the first half. The second half is the Great Tribulation. The first half technically has no name. It's called the tribulation. It's called the 7-year tribulation, but that's incorrect. It's the 70th week of Daniel, and the second half is the Great Tribulation. The first half is not. So we might go into that a little ways. Not very far, because the Antichrist is going to appear in the first half. He's got to build the temple, remember? So he can defile it in the middle. So it's not going to be very far into it, but we might, even if we go a month or two into it, things are not going to be nice. So we don't want to be here for that any more than we have to. But if you have to survive, you can do what I'm doing. And the government's cutting back on everything that everybody's got right now. They're making life miserable. I'm living in camping luxury, if you will. They really can't take much away from me. They could turn off my electricity. They could turn off my water. But I have ways of getting both. There's a river right over here. You don't drink out of the river. You got to filter it. I have camping filters. You can get the straws to individually drink out of. But I've got large industrial ones, if you will, because I'd have to make water for 3 or 4 scouts. If they were hiking with me and we'd go someplace, I'd carry it in my backpack. And we'd filter the water right out of the creek. When I get back to the house, I'd have to wash all that stuff out, getting it out of there, because it has a membrane that collects all the junk that's in the water, and you got to wash it out. But you got to know how to handle those. One end's clean, one end's dirty. Don't mix the two. Keep them away from each other. Okay, that's enough for now. I've got years of camping stories that we can talk about. I won't sit around the campfire and sing campfire songs because I can't carry a tune in a bucket. But I can tell you how to light the fire and how to cook on it. Okay, enough for now. I'm going to post this tomorrow. I'm going to probably try to do one a week, and if they take off, I might do 2. If you really, really want to see this stuff, let me know, and I might try to double record my videos. This is easy. I'm just talking right now. I don't have notes. My next one, I'll have to have notes to make sure I cover the topics. Okay, enough for now. Till we meet in the clouds, God bless. All right, I'd shut everything down before I realized I hadn't tested the air conditioning unit. So I'm going to see what that's like running, and I'll tack this onto the end. Okay, and the fan is on high. I'm going to move closer and put the fan on low. Let's see if that's okay. Yeah, I've got good air coming out. I start it on high when I first get in the tent, but when it cools off, I turn it down to low. If you can hear fine with that, I might keep it on next time. Okay, leave me some comments. I love your comments, they're very encouraging for me, but now we've got some technical comments I need. We should have technical comments on Jesus too, but most of you know them already. But if you don't know a lot about camping, I'll tell you. God bless.